So all of this, let's go back to Trump's speech and talk about how the networks covered this. Let's go. We're going to NBC, where Andrea Mitchell, who is a Clinton hack, she's a Clinton hack. If you see her on MSNBC, I think, okay, it's MSNBC. They are announced liberal. This is NBC News, right? So they are telling us this is the news. Let's listen to her analysis of Trump's speech and listen carefully to what she says. It's a beautifully skewed piece, and we're so used to hearing these people lie that we don't even realize how skewed it is. Listen to this.
There were some contradictions because he spoke of China and Russia as being revisionist countries who are aiming to hurt the United States. This after two really remarkably chummy conversations with Vladimir Putin in the last 4 days alone. He also, in talking about China as trying to compete against the United States, he is widely criticized by many economic and trade experts for having withdrawn from the TPP trade deal, which gave China an open field to compete and best the United States, where we basically left the field open to China and did not join all of our other Asian allies to make these multilateral trade agreements. The other thing is notable is that he doesn't speak about climate change, which has been declared by the Pentagon and by the Obama administration, certainly as part of a national security challenge because of the effect that climate change has on refugee migration movements. It also was a departure and an open criticism, as Hallie was just saying, sounding more like a campaign speech, like a stump speech, than a real national security strategy. And it comes only hours after our closest allies, France and Great Britain, lined up 14-1 against the United States at the UN Security Council today, rejecting the president's designation of Jerusalem as the legal capital of Israel.
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
What is that from that old Will Smith comedy? What was that called? What? The Fresh Prince. That's right. That's right. Anyway, so think about. I was writing it down as she was speaking. He criticized Putin. So he can't win. He criticizes Putin, and everybody was attacking him for not criticizing Putin, but he was just very chummy with Putin. Well, what does that mean? The guy's a negotiator. He's out there, working deals, trying to get past things. Of course he's chumming with Putin. What is he supposed to do? Punch him in the face? Give him a stern look? I mean, come on. That is just absurd. It's an absurd criticism. TPP, some people have criticized him. Some people have praised him. She didn't mention that. We don't know what that is going to do. She's welcome to bring it up, but she didn't bring up both sides. Climate change. She didn't mention climate change as a security threat. Know why? It's not a security threat. The argument there is that climate change causes movements of people. The movements of people cause refugee crisis. The refugee crisis was caused by Barack Obama mishandling the Middle East. That was what the refugee, especially Syria, that's what the refugee crisis was caused by. Climate change is not a security threat. And guess what? There's not that much we can do about climate change. She says it's like a stump speech. Who asked her? How is that even an analysis? She didn't like the speech. But then finally, the big one is our allies tried to squelch Donald Trump's declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel in the United Nations. Our European allies are anti-Semitic. Even Britain is basically overrun with so many Islamic terrorists that it can't afford to support Israel. Donald Trump should be praised to the skies for standing up to these feckless clowns. And, she wants to mention that, but she just totally skewed it in the direction, it's like such a terrible thing. I know we're having this big sex scandal and we always have to talk respectfully about women, but basically you've come to the wrong show. Watching Nikki Haley in the UN has become a source of porn to me. It's like spanking porn, It's like to watch her. First of all, I find her very cute. But secondly, to watch her like beat these people up, it's like S&M porn. She just slaps them around. And I'm like, yes, Nikki, yes, yes, yes. So she goes after them. We vetoed. This is our first veto in like 6 years. They said, oh, no, you're not moving your embassy, like the UN should tell us where to move our embassy. You're not moving your embassy to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not the capital. And Nikki just went after it. I'm telling you, this is to me, like just filthy stuff.
What is troublesome to some people is that the United States had the courage and honesty to recognize a fundamental reality. Jerusalem has been the political, cultural, and spiritual homeland of the Jewish people for thousands of years. They have had no other capital city. But the United States' recognition of the obvious, that Jerusalem is the capital and seat of the modern Israeli government, is too much for some. First, some have threatened violence on the street, as if violence would somehow improve the prospects of peace. Now today, buried in diplomatic jargon, some presume to tell America where to put our embassy. The United States has a sovereign right to determine where and whether we establish an embassy. I suspect very few member states would welcome Security Council pronouncements about their sovereign decisions.
Is it too much to ask her to wear leather when she does that? Yes, what a terrible thing to say. Don't laugh. Rob, don't laugh at that. You just encourage me. It's just wrong. It is just wrong. My point is this: they have skewed this information empire of lies that the left has constructed, skews everything to the left so that normal, ordinary, average Republican governance seems like a radical agenda. And we ourselves get swept up into it. We get swept up. I saw a woman, a conservative commentator whom I love. I won't mention her, I won't name her, but I saw her love, apologizing for watching Hallmark movies. I thought, you watch Hallmark movies because you're a girl. It's a good thing to be a girl. How did this feminist misogyny get into everybody's head? Being a girl is a positive thing. We like girls. We're glad they're girls. That's why Hallmark is there. God love you. Watch the movies without apologizing for it. But where is our YouTube? Where is our Facebook? We built the Daily Wire. It now gets, I think, approximately 100 zillion hits every 20 seconds. Because people are hungry for this kind of information. Fox News. The joke about Fox News was that Rupert Murdoch discovered, or Roger Ailes discovered, a niche audience that happened to be half the country. But where's the next Fox News? Where's the Fox Comedy Central? Where's all the conservative outlets that we should be building? They are not only building them, they're taking over the ones that already exist in order to censor us. And we don't do it. And we keep worrying about, Trump said this and he used Twitter this. Trump is fighting a one-man war to keep control of a little piece of the culture. Knowles and I built Another Kingdom and we put that up. It's been a big success. Where's the movie company coming to buy that, saying, oh boy, entertainment the conservatives like? Why? Where is that movie coming? It doesn't exist because we don't build it. We do not build these things, and we end up having to go to the majors, having to go to the left's construction and beg them to let us speak. And it's a big, big mistake. Donald Trump has had a great year. Conservatives have had a great year through Donald Trump, but those great years won't last if the people don't understand what we're talking about, and they can't understand what we're talking about as long as they control the left controls the means of information. I talked yesterday about some of the great things I think Trump has accomplished against my expectations. He's kind of won me over, even though he still kind of goes up my spine sometimes. But he has won me over with his deeds. I mean, if you judge a man by his deeds, he has done some great deeds for conservatives and for the Republic and for freedom. And I think that you just have to salute that. And you have to say, hey, I expected bad things. You gave me good things. Good for you. Bad on me. There's no problem. I got no problem with that. I'd much rather say that than I was right. I would much rather say, I got it wrong and Trump did a good job than I got it right and Trump's a disaster, because it's the country, obviously, that comes first. But here's the funny thing about this is I was worried he'd be kind of a Democrat. I was worried that his old Democrat instincts would come out. But I think that the resistance kind of put paid to that because they didn't give him any room to move to the left. And once Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan realized they weren't going to be able to get rid of this guy and he was going to be doing this stuff, they started to do their job a little bit. And today they're already debating the tax reform on the House floor. Hopefully in the next couple of days, it'll get past both the House and the Senate before Christmas. Be an amazing, amazing thing. But the funny thing about it is all this hysteria, all this craziness, all the Russia collusion and everything like this, it has just been basically, he's just a Republican. He's cutting taxes, he's paring back government, he's cutting back regulation, he's good for business, he's building up the military. That used to be the typical Republican agenda. And all we get is craziness. You know, I was talking to Knowles yesterday, and he reminded me, and I actually remember this. This is in my memory, that National Review, which hates Trump so much, they hated Reagan too. It was only William F. Buckley who supported Reagan. And I used to talk to conservatives back then, and they would say, well, yeah, we're a little embarrassed by Reagan, but, you know, he'll only run for one term, and don't worry about it so much. You know, it's like, yeah, he's embarrassing. He's a dumb actor. Yeah, I get it. So, you know, this is kind of typical. So Trump yesterday gives his foreign policy statement, and this is his, you know, frequently presidents just publish this, but he was proud of it, and he wanted to go out and talk about it. And he talked about what former presidents have done. Okay, so let me just make sure we have the right. I guess this is cut number 1, maybe, when he talks about what former presidents have done. Yeah.
Our leaders engaged in nation building abroad while they failed to build up and replenish our nation at home. They undercut and shortchanged our men and women in uniform with inadequate resources, unstable funding, and unclear missions. They failed to insist that our often very wealthy allies pay their fair share for defense, putting a massive and unfair burden on the U.S. taxpayer and our great U.S. military. They neglected a nuclear menace in North Korea, made a disastrous, weak, and incomprehensibly bad deal with Iran, and allowed terrorists such as ISIS to gain control of vast parts of territory all across the Middle East.
I'm hysterical. I'm having hysterics. I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
That was the news coverage. But think about what he said. Think about what he said as not even a conservative. I mean, I'm much more of a conservative, a libertarian. I'd call myself, I guess, a conservative libertarian than I am a Republican. I don't really care about the Republican Party except as a vehicle for the ideas that make people free when they are such a thing. But think about some of the stuff he was saying. He was hitting George W. Bush for nation building. Well, that has always been a conservative idea, that we shouldn't go around nation building, that we're not the world's policemen. We push our interests as far as we can. We can't go into every fight. And George W. Bush reacted. Look, 9/11 was a terrible, terrible event, and he reacted to it by declaring this freedom agenda that he was going to spread democracy throughout the Middle East. Well, you know, when you do that, first of all, you have to do it quick, because free peoples don't have a lot of patience for having their soldiers overseas for years. I mean, the Afghanistan war, our guys have been over there for longer than they've ever been anywhere. And this is not something that people want in a free country. If in a free country, well, we want to be at home, we want to be doing business, we want to be having sex scandals and doing all the fun things that you do when you're free. We don't want our boys getting shot down in foreign lands. And so that he's absolutely right about that. That's a classic conservative principle. And then he talked about this Iran deal, letting the military slide. That another typical Republican thing. Build up the military. It keeps the world peaceful when America has a strong military. And